What's going on YouTube? So when the Kia Telluride and Hyundai Palisade hit the US market, they made major waves. Now it's been about 4 years since then, and these siblings continue to push luxury boundaries and sell in droves. But there's always been the long-standing question of which one is the best to buy, which is only getting tougher to decide with the introduction of the new Palisade Calligraphy Night Edition. So today, let's square off these two top midsize SUVs in their top versions to see which one is the ultimate family machine. So like always, let's set the stage here by discussing our trim levels and prices. Let's start with the new Palisade Calligraphy Night Edition, which adds to the top calligraphy model as you would expect. Because this is now the flagship of the Palisade lineup, the price is richer as well, at over $55,000 as tested. Now moving to the Telluride, its top model is known as the SX Prestige X Pro, which is what we have today for equivalent features and style. This also keeps the price tag right in line with the Palisade Night, at $45 over $55,000. By the way, if you want to get the best price from local dealerships and access to invoice pricing info for these two models or any vehicle, we have a tool on our website to do just that. Check the link in the description for more information. Now as far as this comparison, it will be conducted objectively. We have done our best to weigh the points awarded throughout in major and minor categories. But at the end of the comparison, we will sum up with our thoughts and revisit the tiny price difference for a value assessment. With that being said, let's get into it. Starting with the exteriors, for those of you who don't already know, these two are related to each other and share a lot mechanically. But as far as the visuals are concerned, you really wouldn't pick up on that at all. Both models underwent design refreshes last year, which slightly modified their looks but didn't mess with the success by and large. While the X Pro Telluride darkens and toughens up some elements, the Palisade Night Edition really stands out for its fully black finish on everything, which looks menacing on this all-black tester. The headlights also look very dissimilar, but ultimately both of them are full LED in all parts, plus the Telluride even has LED fog lamps. Checking out the sides, they are pretty much the same length, but the wheels are smaller 18 inches on the Telluride versus 20s on the Palisade. That does have a reason, which we will talk about in just a second. Around back, this is the only area where you can almost see the tiniest semblance of relation to each other, since they do have similar looking vertical LED taillights, their names spelled out across the back, and dual exhausts that are mounted on the right side. Even the Night Edition Palisade keeps chrome tipping on the exhaust outlets, and both of them have incandescent reverse lights separated from the main housing. Now as we move on to the individual features, there are some differences with the mirrors. Both are heated with blind spot monitoring, but only the Telluride's power fold, and only the Palisades have auto dimming. Now in addition to the blind spot monitoring systems, both Hyundai and Kia give you their entire suites of active safety systems as standard equipment. One cool Hyundai advantage is the smart parking system, which can pull into and out of tight parking spots unmanned. They both also come equipped with the longest warranty in the business, 5-year 60,000-mile basic and 10-year 100,000-mile powertrain warranties. However, only Hyundai includes 3 years of complimentary maintenance. Now when it comes to towing, the X Pro Telluride has a 500-pound advantage and is able to handle up to 5,500 pounds. And this would also be a good time to circle back and acknowledge that the X Pro does add off-road chops above what is offered on the Palisade, such as increased ground clearance, better approach and departure angles, and all-terrain tires. But the real excitement comes when we get inside the luxurious cabins. But first,
we want to take a second to tell you about a really cool cashback app called Upside. They've partnered with over 25,000 gas stations and 30,000 other businesses so that you can save money each time you use the app. The process is super simple. All you have to do is claim the offer in the app, choose a credit or debit card, and then proceed to purchase as normal.
We use Upside to buy premium gas for the BMW, and we recently saved 53 cents a gallon, which adds up to be a lot of money over the thousands of miles we drive.
And this is real cash back too. You can cash out anytime you want directly into your checking account, PayPal, or through gift cards such as Amazon. And who doesn't want to save money? Even if it's just to buy another car you probably don't need.
To get started, download the free Upside app. Use our promo code CARCONFECTIONS and get an extra 25 cents back for every gallon on your first tank of gas. A link is provided in the video description for you to take advantage of that great offer. So walking up to the vehicles, both models have smart entry systems, remote start, and available phone is key. And after you use any of those methods to open up the doors, you'll find out that the interior designs look just as different as the exteriors. The common element is that both of them look very upscale for mainstream brands, and indeed you do find a lot of things that most in the class don't offer. For example, the seats, which are made from high-end quilted Napa leather on both, at least usually. The night edition of the Palisade actually substitutes out the Napa leather for a suede seat instead, which is not quite as premium and certainly a lot hotter than the Telluride seats. Regardless, both of the seats are heated, ventilated, 14-way power adjusting, and have memory on board, but only the Palisade includes power massage. Now once fully inside the cabins, you can begin to take in just how luxurious they are. The Telluride uses a mixture of stitched soft-touch plastic, very realistic faux wood trim, and then covers the center console and the signature handlebars in Napa leather. Likewise, the Palisade also has a soft-touch upper dash, nice trim, and leather console. But what puts it over the edge is that it has additional quilted leather on the door trim, as well as real metal speaker grills. After startup, you'll see two fully digital gauge clusters, something the Telluride added during its refresh. They're both 12.3 inches, change design with the drive modes, and have blind spot camera systems. Up top, we also have head-up displays. Coming back to the steering wheels, both are leather-wrapped, heated, and manual adjusting. Next up, we have the very important aspect of storage, where the Hyundai is definitely one of the best in the class. That's certainly not to say that the Kia is bad, since it still has ample storage space, but the Palisade adds another large reconfigurable storage bin in front of the main center console, and it also has a center pass-through that the Telluride does not have. That center pass-through is made possible by the Palisade's use of an electronic shifter. If that's a worthwhile trade, or if you prefer the traditional shifter in the Telluride, is a matter of personal preference. But when you shift into reverse, both have 360-degree camera systems with the latest 3D graphics. Moving up the dash, we have easy-to-use 3-zone automatic climate controls, before we come to the volume knobs for the Harman Kardon sound systems. Let's go ahead and give them a sample. I'm not really sure why they have different speaker counts, but regardless, both sound equally nice. And now that brings us to the infotainment systems. Both are rocking 12.3-inch displays, and while the brands skin the software graphics somewhat differently, the infotainment system is fundamentally the same between them. Features-wise, they have built-in navigation, passenger intercom systems, as well as Android Auto and Apple CarPlay via a wired connection only. And lastly up front, the last things to mention are that both of them have smart rear-view camera mirrors with HomeLink, premium Alcantara headliners, and dual-panel panoramic moonroofs.
If you're new here, we're brothers, and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We may be young, but we love cars.
And we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family. Let's learn a lot, have some fun with all the latest cars.
Now it's time to dig into the equally important rear seats and cargo areas. Starting with the second row measurements. As you would expect, they do share identical dimensions, and both are on the larger side of the segment. All the luxury from the front thankfully doesn't stop in the rear. These models have sunshades, rear climate controls, 2 charging USB ports, and a household outlet. Telluride and Palisade were also the first mainstream through-row SUVs to feature not just heated, but also ventilated rear seats on their top trims. Neither of these two can get bench seating on the top trims, so they will seat 7 passengers. Moving on to the third row of seats, where the other 3 people will be sitting, you'll find a surprising level of comfort. Even though many of you guys may only plan to have small children back there, you can seat adults in relative comfort with good legroom and headroom measurements. Third row access is easy, and they have plenty of share features like dedicated vents and charging USB ports, but only the Palisade has class-exclusive third row heated seats. Next, moving around to the rear, both have smart opening tailgates, and once they open up, you'll find very large cargo areas. Once again, they are pretty much evenly matched, besides for a 3 cubic foot Telluride advantage for the area behind the third row. That size disadvantage is probably due to the fact that the Hyundai's third row is power folding. One last thing to mention is that the X Pro Telly comes with a household power outlet for tailgating or whatever recreational activity you may need it for. Alrighty, that's it for the interiors. So now let's take this fight to the streets. While most things you can see are quite different between these two models, what you cannot see is much more similar. That starts with the platforms and continues to the powertrains, which are both the same 3.8-liter V6 engine, rated at 291 horsepower and 262 pound-feet of torque, the same 8-speed automatic transmission, and the same all-wheel drive system. Acceleration is very much class competitive, and many of you guys may prefer the smooth power delivery and refined sound of a V6 versus the turbo 4-cylinders that are taking over many of the other options in the segment. Now of course we're going uphill, but power is pretty plentiful from this 3.8 liter V6 engine. Now of course, as you'd expect, adding some black elements to the exterior doesn't make this faster when it has the same engine, of course. So you still have the 291 horsepower on board. Yeah, power definitely comes on nice and strong. As far as your other elements of the powertrain, you do have an 8-speed automatic transmission, nice and smooth, just like all the other times we've sampled the Palisade model. One thing to note that's different about the Calligraphy Night Edition is that it's all-wheel drive exclusive, so you can't choose front-wheel drive like you can on all the rest of the trim levels. As you would expect, the driving dynamics are also very similar, and both are excellent. They have precise and light but nicely weighted steering setups. Maneuverability is also quite good, and we like that they feel smaller than their exterior measurements suggest. There are tiny discrepancies in ride quality, though. The Palisade is a few percent softer, and the Telluride a few percent tighter in terms of control. But again, we wouldn't consider this a big difference.
Now, I do also want to talk about your ride quality for this model, because this Calligraphy Palisade is just a really great riding vehicle. We've actually sampled one out, not the Night Edition, but we sampled out a Calligraphy for a full week, and we were just continuously impressed with the ride quality. This vehicle truly rides like a luxury SUV would. You hit a bump, it does a great job of soaking it up, and may I add, these seats are very comfortable for the Calligraphy model. But guys, we have been a little quiet about one of the major elements about this Telluride, the ride quality. So I want to hop into that and, point out some really insightful comments here. So, of course, we do have the X Pro, which is the off-road focused Telluride. So we have the smaller 18-inch wheels, but we do have like those off-roady tires. And as far as the ride quality goes, we've just been taking a few minutes to soak it up here and see how it compares to the rivals. It does a really good job. I have to say, this X Pro is really not going to reduce your ride quality down. It's not going to be a rough riding vehicle. It actually does a fantastic job of.
It's also important to have serene environments free of loud noises. And both models do a good job here, even though the Telluride does the better job. At 54.5 decibels, the Kia achieved a measurement in line with many luxury SUVs we test.
And while we're going 55 miles an hour, I do want to just go ahead and dive into our signature sound level reading for this Calligraphy Night Edition. Now, we went ahead and put the fan speed on 1. We're sitting at 56.4 decibels as our official sound level reading, going 55 miles per hour. Official Car Confections sound level reading, 54.5 decibels. Really, really impressive sound level.
And finally, for fuel economy, the Palisade gets a slightly better rating of 21 combined, although that's not a big enough difference to score a point. Neither of them offer hybrid or plug-in hybrid variants at this time to improve MPGs. Before we wrap up here, we will circle back to value as promised. Normally, there is more of a price difference between our comparison models than the $100 that separates these two. As such, there are no value balancing points to be awarded today.
Well, that's it for another super close comparison. Since 2020, it's been a heck of a decision to pick between these two. As new trims and features updates roll out each year, it just gets harder and harder to choose between these two. So let's summarize a bit so you can pick your personal winner. Now, the Palisade should be your winner if you prefer the somewhat better cabin materials that you get inside. Third row features, so it's going to have the exclusive on the power folding third row as well as the heated third row. You also have auto-dimming mirrors on the outside, which are missing from the Telluride, and you have that extra front storage in that pass-through area.
Now, big reasons why you'd pick the Telluride over the Palisade would be that you have the ability to get some more off-road focused features. So for the X Pro trim level, you have some all-terrain tires, things like that really give you a little bit more off-road capability than what you're going to get on the Palisade. Additionally, you have power folding mirrors, so if you're using that all the time, that will be useful. You also do have more cargo space behind the third row, as well as it has a little bit quieter of a cabin than the Palisade. But, of course, like we've said multiple times, it is a very tight race between these two, and honestly, I'd be torn as to which one I'd pick. So hopefully you found this video helpful in making that decision. And if you did, we would really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below to pay us back. We also do want to remind you that if you're looking for a new vehicle, either the Kia Telluride or Hyundai Palisade or any new vehicle, the next place you should go to is carconfections.com/newcarquotes. Now, the reason you should go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes is because we have a tool that will connect you with local dealers in your area to get you that best price on your new vehicle, as well as access to invoice price information. If you'd like to take advantage of that, a link is provided in the video description. We do also want to thank all of our loyal fans and subscribers. Thank you so much for your continued support, because you do make this all possible, and we're so glad you are part of our Car Confections family. We'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.